Hi everybody, it's Nikki here and welcome to a bookish video. So today I'm going to talk about a few books that intimidate the bloody life out of me. Like, I'm scared of these books. Now, none of them are of the horror genre because, yeah, no. No, we don't do that. We don't read that genre. It scares the life out of me. I hide behind a pillow. It scares me. But these books scare me for other reasons. Not just because, you know, boo, they scare. So, let's start off with book number 1. It is this one. It is A Cavern of Black Ice, which is book 1 in the Sword of Shadows series by J.V. Jones. Can you see why I'm scared? Now, okay, let's think about this. Big books don't actually scare me. I don't mind getting lost in a book that is over 500 pages. In fact, I quite enjoy it because it means I get to spend longer with the characters that I learn to know and love. What intimidates me with this one is that this first book in the series is over 800 pages. And every book in the series is about that same size. So not only is it one large book, it's multiple large books. I believe there's 5 in this series. I think I only have the first 4. Not 100% sure. I picked them up in a charity shop. And yeah, I saw them. I thought, ooh, they look like epic fantasy. You know, you have this young girl here and this man and saving her from wolves, and yeah, it looks epic fantasy. I love epic fantasy. But I'm intimidated not just because of its size and the size of the rest of the books, but also because this is a author I've never heard of before. It's in a world I've never heard of before. The intimidating part of this is I have got at least 4 out of the 5 books, as I say, and I know not a thing about it, and that's what intimidates me. I don't know what I'm walking into. I don't know if I'm going to like the writing style. I don't know if I'm going to like the world. I don't know if there's a magic system in here or if it is literally just, I don't know anything. I kind of read the blurb on the back and it says, when Rafe Severance and his brother return home to their clan as the only survivors of a vicious attack in which both their father and the clan chief were killed, it is not only grief that clouds Rafe's thoughts. The new chief's reign is a brutal one, made worse by his brother's acceptance of it. When his uncle Angus Locke invites Rafe to accompany him to Spire Vanis, it seems that he has no choice but to leave his home. It is the start of a journey that will change his life and the world he inhabits. It doesn't really tell me much. And so I'm intimidated because I know not what I'm walking into. So yeah, it's a big book. The writing is pretty small in there as well. The good thing about this is that because it is secondhand, the spine has already been broken. So it's going to be quite an easy book to physically read, because sometimes with the bigger books, they can be a little stiff if the spines aren't broken already. And I don't like breaking spines. But this one being pre-loved, it's already got that broken spine in it. So that is one plus point on this. But I am interested in reading it because it looks so epic fantasy. But I don't know what I'm walking into. And that's why it terrifies me. The next book that intimidates me is this one. This is Paradise Lost by John Milton. This is an epic poem. It's not that long, yellow edges. It's a very old book. It only has over 300 pages, but this poem was written in the 1600s. I believe it's 1667. Let's have a look. Yeah, first published in 1667. That's over 350 years ago. Like, that's a long time. And this is an epic poem. There's over thousands of lines. Again, the writing is pretty small, but yeah, and there's footnotes in this as well, which is going to throw me off completely. So it says, this is the complete and unabridged version. This controversial poem of the 17th century centres around the creation myth. Through his rich and powerful verse, Milton relates the story of the fall of mankind and the subsequent banishment from paradise. Milton's evocative representation of Eden has become ingrained in our everyday language as he conjures up the fiery hell and idyllic garden, the mysterious and awe-inspiring God and the cunning Satan, who decides, "Evil be thou my good." Eve is created as a companion for Adam, but Satan comes to her in the form of a serpent and tempts her to taste the succulent forbidden fruit of the tree of knowledge. Thus man's free will brought about the fall, yet Milton's God is merciful and offers Adam and Eve a paradise on earth to come from within themselves. Paradise Lost conveys with clarity and vision an overall image of creation and has deservedly become one of the greatest epics in any language. So yeah, this intimidates me because the language that it's going to use is well out of date, 350 years out of date. It's biblical as well, and I'm not a very religious person. It's challenging because I'm not a massive fan of poetry. For me, I prefer the kind that rhymes. I'm sorry. But yeah, I feel like the literary genius of this is gonna go whoosh straight over my head, and yeah, this is gonna take me a while to read. Yes, it's only 300 pages, but it's poetry and biblical and over 350 years old. So it intimidates me because of all of those reasons. But I picked it up because part of me does kind of want to know what this is about. This is an epic poem and people study this, and you know, it's interesting. So that's the book that intimidates me. Now the next book, you might think, Nicola, why would that intimidate you? I read it last week. But it's Cinder by Marissa Mayer, and the reason why this is intimidating is because it's sci-fi. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm not a massive fan of sci-fi. I've tried to read sci-fi in the past. I've tried to read Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And although I could see that it was good writing and acknowledge that, I didn't care. I didn't care about the characters or what was happening, and I didn't care about what happened in the end. So I actually DNF'd it about a third of the way through, which, considering the book is 600 pages, I still managed to read 200 of them before giving up on it. So yeah, sci-fi just, it bored me. wasn't interested. It just didn't take me. But then I read some middle grade and thoroughly enjoyed it. Like Orion Lost by Alistair Chisholm, my best book of 2020. Like, I love that book with all of my heart, and I'm excited to reread it again very soon. And then YA sci-fi, which I would class this as. I've read Skyward and Starsight by Brandon Sanderson, his kind of like YA sci-fi. And it was okay. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't brilliant. I didn't enjoy it as much as his Mistborn series per se. So yeah, I'm intimidated with this one because it's YA sci-fi and I don't know if I'm going to enjoy that. Now, Cinder is a Cinderella retelling in a sci-fi setting. So we have Cinder, a gifted mechanic in New Beijing, is also a cyborg. She's reviled by her stepmother and blamed for her stepsister's sudden illness. But when her life becomes entwined with the handsome Prince Kai's, she finds herself at the centre of a violent struggle between the desires of an evil queen and a dangerous temptation. Cinder is caught between duty and freedom, loyalty and betrayal, and now she must uncover secrets about her mysterious past in order to protect Earth's future. This is not the fairy tale you remember, but it's one you won't forget. So yeah, I have book 1 and book 2 in this series. Book 2 is Scarlet, I believe, which I think is taking from Red Riding Hood, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, Cinder is a retelling of Cinderella in a sci-fi cyborg kind of way. It's intimidating. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this, but I want to, but it scares me. So yeah, it's not that long. It's average size, less than 400 pages, which shouldn't normally intimidate me, but it does because it's sci-fi. So that is that one. The next book is another classic, and that is Middlemarch by George Eliot. Now, George Eliot was actually a female writer, but wrote under the name of a male. So this says that Middlemarch is a complex tale of idealism, disillusion, profligacy. Am I saying that right? Profligacy, loyalty, and frustrated love. This penetrating analysis of the life of an English provincial town is set during the time of social unrest prior to the first Reform Bill of 1832. It is told through the lives of Dorothea Brooke and Dr. Tertius Lydgate, and includes a host of other paradigm characters who illuminate the condition of English life in the mid-19th century. So why does it intimidate me? A, it's huge. It's nearly 700 pages. And it intimidates me because, again, I feel like the literacy genius of this book, and I'm not saying that, you know, this is amazing writing, but it's a classic for a reason. I don't know when this was first published. Let me have a look, see if I can find out. It's over 100 years old, that's for sure, and it's a classic for a reason. But it intimidates me because the one thing I worry about classics is A, the language that they use, because most of them are in Old English, which is something that we just don't use anymore, and the way that they talk is slightly different as well to how we talk. Also, some of the accepted ways of this time are obviously not accepted nowadays, so sometimes my little feminist mind gets a little agitated with some of the things that are said and done in some classics, but also because of this idea that it's a complex tale of idealism, disillusion, that word I can't say, profligacy, loyalty and frustrated love. The frustrated love I can get, okay? It's the idealism and disillusion, and I have no idea what profligacy, I don't know what that is, let alone can say the word. So it's this intimidation of, I think that the real message of this book is going to go right over my head, and it's just going to be kind of like a slice of life kind of book for me, and I'm not going to get its true and actual meaning, the reason why George Eliot felt she needed to write this particular story. This is not a story just for story's sake. This is a statement. This is a protest kind of thing, and I feel like I'm going to miss that. I feel like I'm going to miss the message that this book is trying to tell me because I'm too stupid to understand it. And that is simply the truth. That is why it intimidates me, because I feel like this book is going to make me feel stupid, and nobody likes that. The next book is a new purchase of mine, and it's The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, which is book 1 in the Wheel of Time series. Book one, and it's like this. This is over 700 pages, nearly 800 pages, so it doesn't seem as big as some of the other ones. The writing is not too bad, but this is a brand new book. So unlike with the J.V. Jones one, the spine on this one hasn't been broken yet. So it's not quite as floppy as the other one. And I'm going to be aware of that as I'm trying to read it, because I don't like breaking the spines on books. Some people thoroughly enjoy it, but I don't. I cringe and I cry, and I mourn the book for a while. So I'm intimidated because I feel like this is going to be a little harder for me to read because of that spine being brand new, and I'm going to be worried about breaking it. But also because The Wheel of Time is a massive series, and I feel like I'm starting on a very long journey, and all of the books are huge. So that's why this book intimidates me, not just because of the size of the individual book, not just because of its brand new spine that I don't want to break, but also because this is a massive series of multiple books. And again, I don't really know what I'm going into. I just know that it's a well-loved series, and that is that. The last book that I'm intimidated by is this huge hardback. It's bigger than my head. It's also big this way. This is Tad Williams' Shadow March, which is book 1 of a 4-book series, and each of the books is as large as this one, in width as well as size. So this is an epic fantasy. It says it on the front right there, and yeah, I'm terrified of it because it's an epic fantasy. It's a world I know nothing about. It's an author I've never read from before, but because I have these in hardback, they're quite heavy. So I'm intimidated because I know that these are going to hurt while I read them because they're heavy, they're going to give me hand cramp. I read Priory of the Orange Tree a couple of years ago, and that is a huge, massive hardback book as well that is over 800 pages. And by the time I'd finished reading it, I had such wrist pains that, you know, I felt it. I felt like I'd read an 800-page hardback book. And I feel like that's going to happen again here. So that's where my intimidation of this book stands. It's a massive book. This one is nearly 650 pages. It's a big hardback. And my phone has died. Sorry, my camera cut off and needed charging. So, where was I about this book and why it intimidates me? I apologise if I might repeat myself. I'll try and edit it so that it fits together nicely. But yeah, so the intimidation for this book is really the size of the book, this one being 640 odd pages. And some of the other books in this series are much bigger than that. The fact that Tad Williams is a new to me author, the fact that it's an epic fantasy, so I know there's going to be a really in-depth world building and a real, like, intriguing magic system probably for me to get hold of. But also the weight of this book. This book is going to be difficult for me to keep hold of for long periods of time while I'm reading. So there's that as well. Also, I don't know much about this series, like, at all. It says on the back, the stillness of the hall is broken. A rising murmur fills the mirrored room. A wash of voices that grows into the echoes in the dark. Thorn-carved rafters, the blind king nods slowly. Now at last it begins. What begins? What is happening? I don't know. So yeah. I'm guessing that it's going to be epic and it's going to be fantasy because it's epic fantasy. So yeah, that is the stack of books that intimidate me. So let me just, that is the stack of books that intimidate me. And they're not all big books. There's a few big books in there, but there are some smaller ones. But it's not particularly their size that is intimidating me. It is their contents. And that is that. Also, I forgot to grab it. And I've just thought of it right now. Another one that kind of intimidates me because of its size and its content is the Game of Thrones series, which I have the box set of. The first 4 books, I want to say. But the second book is split into 2 volumes because it's so big that here in the UK they split the second book into 2 volumes. So yeah, that terrifies me because I have watched the series like everybody else. But I know that the books and the series are not going to be the same. So that intimidates me. So yes, books, they scare me. But I have plenty of books to choose from. So the odd one that slightly intimidates me is not going to put me off from reading at all because I have plenty more books on my shelves that I can't wait to read, that I am excited for, and that don't scare me in the least little bit, but they should because they're exciting. And then we just love books. The worlds that they can take us to, the worlds that we can escape to. I love it. Anyway, are there any books that intimidate you that are on your shelves, and why do they intimidate you? Is it just their size, or is there another reason deep down hiding underneath, which is why you're maybe questioning about picking it up and starting it? The truth is that sometimes when we start these big books that intimidate us, just like when I read The Count of Monte Cristo back in January, my God, Bookgammon, she did me wrong. The first month that I did Bookgammon, and she did me wrong. She gave me Count of Monte Cristo and I was absolutely terrified. And then I started reading it and was like, why? Why was I terrified of this book? It was brilliant. I loved The Count of Monte Cristo, all that revenge and plotting and twists in the story. So yeah, sometimes these books do intimidate us, but once we pick them up, once we start to read them, we realise that there was nothing to be afraid of all along. And that's what I love. That's what I love the most about books. So are there any that you're scared of? Any, I've asked you this before. I've forgotten how to end a video. Let's try it again. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!